So Marvin Ryder from the degroote School of Business. So do you have your crystal ball near you? We're talking real estate.
I don't have my Swami hat on, if you don't mind the lack of Swami hat, but my crystal ball is nearby.
So obviously we've chatted a few times. Oh, I guess this is the first time this year, but a couple times last year during the pandemic, kind of at the end of the first wave. It doesn't seem like things are slowing down. What do you think
No.
2021 is going to be like for real estate?
So just to give some context, you and I are really talking about the Hamilton-Burlington real estate market. I'm going to give you a little postscript about Toronto, but just if we focus in on Hamilton-Burlington, because so much of what is being sold in Hamilton and Burlington are either detached properties or semi-detached properties, this market is going to continue gangbusters for all of 2021. Why? Because interest rates are so low. Today, you can go to a bank, credit union, and easily get mortgages in the 2.5 to 2 3/4, maybe 3 percentage point range, well below the traditional Canadian average. So money is cheap. Money is cheap. And then the other side of this question, cheap money and demand. What people are discovering during the pandemic is that more and more employers are not requiring them to commute to work in the downtown core of Toronto. So not only does that save me some time, I don't have to get up at 5 in the morning to get to work for 8:30. I can roll out of bed at 7:30 and still be at work on Zoom or something else, but I also don't have to be physically nearby. So this year, 2021, is going to be a terrible year for downtown Toronto real estate. I wouldn't want to be in that condo market. There were lots of people who were buying condos in the hopes of renting them to other people, getting high rents because people could park a car. I don't have to commute. I can just walk to work in the morning. But now that you don't have to physically be at work, hey, how about looking outside? So Hamilton, Burlington, even further afield, going to Caledonia or going to Hagersville or going to Beamsville, all of these areas are being discovered by Toronto people who are saying, well, I think I could spend $800,000 on a property. So let me see, I could get a little box of air in downtown Toronto that maybe is 1,000 square feet, or I could get a detached 4-bedroom house with yards. Now what am I going to buy? So they're flooding into the market. That also means that not only are housing prices going to be strong this year, but the inflation in housing prices is going to do nothing but go up. I have been worried for some time about a bubble. I don't like it when property values are going up past the rate of inflation. A little, 2% when inflation is 1.8, sure, that's fine. But I suspect the year-over-year housing prices will be 9% higher, 10% higher. And I do worry about how sustainable that is going to be. But with cheap money and a lot of demand, nothing is going to let up for this year. The Bank of Canada itself has said it believes that these low interest rates will continue at least through the first half of 2022. And then they'll start to increase the interest rates if they start to see significant inflation. We don't know what's going to happen. The wild card in this remains COVID. It's the slow-moving health hurricane that is really affecting our economy. Now, we tied into this, of course, is the distribution of vaccines. If we were able to do 100,000 people a day in Canada, that would be 3 million a month. It would still take you 13 months to vaccinate everybody if you started today. And we're not doing it at that rate now. That means, again, what Bank of Canada feels, it will probably take until 2022 to get everybody vaccinated and to achieve this herd immunity and maybe to get COVID in the rearview mirror. So I'm sorry, this is a long answer to a simple question, but at least in this area, the Hamilton-Burlington area, it's going to be another great year. I almost want to use the word record year. Even though we've got the health crisis and all the terrible news from COVID, it's a great year to be in real estate.
For buyers getting into the market, downtown Hamilton for a detached house, 500, 550, up on the mountain, 650, 700 to start. If you're looking to get into the watered-down or Burlington market, you're looking at the starting point, 800,000 for a townhome, 900,000 for a detached home, and in a lot of areas in desirable areas in Hamilton too, a detached home is 900,000. Home prices have kind of done this, while wages have not done so much. So is there a point, like, and I often get asked this question from first-time buyers is who's affording these houses? Is there a cap where home prices are going to have to stop because who's going to buy them?
Right. And I everything you've just said, I agree with. I don't think this can continue forever. I think we've got to get to a point, not where it reverses and goes down, but I think we've got to get to a point where it gets flat at some point. And so again, I caution people, if you're looking to buy a second property or a third or a fourth, and you get it in your head that I'll jump in, maybe I won't even move in, or I won't have anybody move in. Maybe I won't even rent. I'll just buy the house, sit on it for a year, pay the taxes, and then a year from now I'll flip it and I'll make $100,000. Vapor money from vapor. That's a very dangerous thing, because to assume that these prices are going to continue forever is really a false assumption. It just can't, because people can't afford to do it. However, what we are discovering, especially coming out of Toronto, is there are people who are earning a standard of living, earning a salary that you needed to live in Toronto, but taking that level of salary to a more suburban market and finding what they view as bargains. So if you are a native member of Hamilton or Burlington, if this is where you're born and raised, and you're getting paid at this level, yes, you're starting to get priced out of this market, which unfortunately also means you really should think about jumping in sooner rather than later. If you think, well, I'll wait 6 months and then those housing prices will come crashing down and then I'll move in with my cash, we're not expecting to see that. So if you wait 3 months, 6 months, the prices are going to be even more so. And another funny thing that we've got is a psychology thing. It really is not a good economic thing, but because people are jumping in, it's almost like people are prepared to pay anything to get into the market. So you would know this better than I, but we're seeing houses listed. People have done their study and say, well, I think the value of that house is $825. So we'll list it at $825. And, and you should be prepared to go down to $810 or even $799 if that's what it's going to take to sell it. But instead, people rush in and you list it for $825, but you sell it for $875 or $890 or $910. Because people get into this little bidding war. It doesn't make good economic sense, but that's the psychology that is driving the market. So I do worry about inflation. And this is why in Toronto, where we saw people, especially in the condo market, buying condos really just to flip them, never to really live in them, or if they got stuck with it, they could rent them for, I don't know, $3,000 a month and somehow make this work. That market is set for a reversal. I think condo prices in Toronto are going to be soft. I mean, that I think they're going to come down a bit. I think if I was in the construction business building a condo, I'm halfway done. Well, I'll have to finish that, but will you be able to sell the other units? I'm not sure about that. I think you're actually going to see some condo projects stalled in Toronto. And then here locally in Hamilton and Burlington, I don't want to be as negative, but I think even here, people are going to be thinking about those condos. Can they slap them up and can they get the prices they want for them? I think people who've got money are more interested in a detached or semi-detached house with some property attached to it than they are this box of air.
Right. I guess, yeah, because in the Burlington, Hamilton market, I've been showing some condos in Burlington. I noticed there was a lot of inventory in bigger units 2 months ago in one particular building. And in the past 2 weeks, about 15 transactions happened. They all sold out, good size. So I wonder the Burlington condo market, we're talking price point 450 to 600, are first-time buyers who want to stay in Hamilton, Burlington, perhaps going to look at the condo market as their only option to get in, because you can either buy a condo for $500,000 or go for a detached home for $900,000.
Yeah, and you may be seeing some of that. I also wonder to what extent it is people at the other end of their life. So they're retired or semi-retired, 65, 70, 75. They suddenly realize that this house that they once bought for, I don't know, $175,000, they can sell for $800,000. So they go, well, look at all that equity. I can make myself debt free. And maybe, not in the time of COVID, but in the post-COVID years, my thinking was, well, we'll have a place here and we'll have a place in Arizona. We'll lock the door, go down there. This might be the time for me to jump into the condo in Burlington because the prices haven't gone up quite as much there. Mm-hmm. So take that, make the difference, bank the difference. That'll pay for my condo fees. and it'll help set up my retirement. This might be the opportune moment. So I think you've got both first-time people, but people at the other end of the scale saying, this is my time to cash in the value of my home and move on.
True. Good information, Marvin. I appreciate it.
Yeah, maybe just one last thing on all this again is I think the government is still encouraging first-time home buyers. The program it came out with to try to put some cash in and help people extend their down payments has not worked as well as they wanted. It works fine if you're in Brantford. It works fine if you're in Collingwood, where housing prices haven't seen the same level of escalation. I don't know when we get a budget here in late March, early April, whether Chrystia Freeland is going to sweeten that program. They've already sweetened it once to recognize the conditions in bigger urban markets. So that might be an interesting wrinkle, whether that will be another little stimulus into the market for first-time buyers. But my bottom line advice for anyone thinking about getting in is if you like what you see, if you like the property, you can afford to carry it, jump in, because if you wait, I think those opportunities are going to be lost to you, or if you wait to jump in, they'll cost you even more. So if you can think about doing it now is always better than the future.
The future, it might be a little bit more, and we've seen that.
Over and over again.
True. Thank you, Marvin.
Glad to be with you today, Sean.